Hey, wagwan, it's Chanice Rich here, and I'm back with another reaction video. And today we are going to be reacting to worst date story time.
He pulls on black leather gloves and says, "These are my murder gloves."
About 5 minutes before we get to their house, I hear, what was that?
The ponytail flew off the head top and landed in the canal. I had to watch it float away before my eyes.
And it turns out she was not dead at all. She was very much alive. They were very much together.
3 children come running out the back door to let me know that he is married.
I have been on a couple worst dates myself. Shout out to dating apps who put me through a lot. These dating apps put me through a lot. But today we're just going to be reacting to other people's dating stories. Let's get right into it.
Here's mine. 2 years ago, I went out with a pilot from Bumble. When I got there, he said, "I hope it didn't take you too long to get here." I said, "No, 15 minutes." I walked. He said, "Good, because I don't date people who live more than a mile from me." He then asked the hostess for a table for 2 and said, "You have to eat with me," even though he knew I had already eaten. He proceeds to force me to pick out an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. We are there for 2 hours. I am barely eating because, again, I have already eaten, which he shames me for.
Oh, girl. He already sounds extremely controlling and a little bit scary. And the fact that you said that you've been there for 2 hours and you're still sitting there.
Asks me to split the bill. At that point, I wanted to get out of there, so I just did it. We're putting on our coats. It's February, by the way. He pulls on black leather gloves and says, "These are my murder gloves." He then insists on walking me home, meaning he continues to walk next to me even though I continue to ask him not to. At one point, I tried to turn on a street that wasn't mine, and he said, "We haven't walked 15 minutes yet. This isn't where you live." There's a doorman building next to my...
Oh no, girl. He made a joke about murder gloves. He's following you. Why haven't you called the cops already?
building, and I walked in with a big smile on my face and said, "This man outside is stalking me. Please pretend I live here." And this has been today's episode of Things Women Do to Avoid a Confrontation That Might Lead to Murder.
That's not only the worst date, that sounds like the scariest date. That is so scary. When I was using dating apps to date and I was meeting people off a dating app, half of the time I would cancel just because I was so scared that that person might be a serial killer.
Stop it. Get some help.
Picked this girl up from her house for our first date many years ago. Getting to head into a Mexican restaurant about 10 minutes from her house. Conversation to the restaurant is great. We get to the restaurant, they seat us, we're having a good time. We order our food. About halfway through the meal, she goes, "Take me home now." "You okay?" She said, "Take me home." We jump in the car, heading back to the house. About 5 minutes before we get to their house, I hear, "What was that?" She said, "I'm so sorry." Her face turned as red as my hoodie. This lady had pass gas. It sounded like a parrot was giving birth to a squirrel. Well, the smell come and it smelled like fresh.
So embarrassing. I feel like we shouldn't be embarrassed of these things just because it's natural. You men need to get over it. We should, just like you. It's natural. I am that type of person that will hold it until I get home, but thankfully I've never experienced where I couldn't.
She rolls her window down and starts gagging. I'm trying not to make a scene because I know she's mortified. I'm gagging because she's gagging and the smells got off. We get to the house, pull up. I jump out to help her out. She darts from my car. She can't make it to the house, stops by her bushes and just dumps everything.
Nasty!
To this day, she has refused to text me or call me.
Oh my God, that's extremely embarrassing. Oh my God, I would not be able to recover. He could do something special, like, you know, show up at her house with flowers, nice cards, just telling her that she does not need to be embarrassed. It's a human thing. Things happen and that he's still interested in her, and I'm sure she would come around. My most embarrassing date story is when my crush finally asked me out on a date, and this was in college. It was my college crush. He wanted to go bowling, and I told him I hate bowling. My hands are small, my wrist is small. I cannot pick up heavy things. I just knew trying to bowl might not end well, and I warned him. I said, "Oh, can we do something else?" He's like, "No, let's just have fun. You can't be that bad at bowling." I said, "Okay.
Fine, whatever."
So we go bowling, and it's my turn to bowl, and I try to pick the lightest bowling ball I could find. Pick up the ball. As I swung the ball, why is the ball no longer in my hand and I don't see it ahead of me? I look back and I rolled the ball backwards. When I looked at his face, he was so embarrassed.
Emotional damage.
He was so embarrassed. I was thinking, like, okay, you know, we could just laugh it off. It's a funny moment. I'm already embarrassed. And I already told you I'm not good at going. Okay. He actually said, you know what? Let's leave. And we packed up her stuff and left. We did end up just going to the movies instead, but I'll never forget it. I was so embarrassed. He was definitely not the guy for me. He didn't have good intentions, so, you know, everything happens for a reason.
Date with this guy who threw me out of his car at 1:30 in the morning because he was angry that I didn't believe in aliens. And he said that I was ignorant and shallow to think that we're the only living species in this whole universe and that I deserve to walk home. Mind you, he lived in Burbank, California. I lived in Inglewood, California. And if anybody's in California, you know how far Burbank is from Inglewood. So yeah, I didn't deserve to be in his car because I didn't believe in aliens.
Oh, that's crazy. Just be thankful that he showed you who he was right at the beginning of the date. That's crazy that he kicked you out of the car. Like, no concern for a woman and her safety. You definitely dodged a bullet with that one.
Okay, this one is awful. So I went on a date with this girl. It was our second date. I decided to take her to a Chinese buffet, all you can eat, because I'm overweight and I decided it'd be fun. Halfway through the date, I realized this Kung Pao chicken is really beating up the old intestines. I'm gonna absolutely poo myself if I don't go right now. How do you get out of a situation like this? I'm doing small talk, sweat's dribbling down my face, and I said, hey, I have a phone call to take really quick. My agent has something to tell me. So I go, wander off to the toilet. Little flutes are playing as I'm waiting to take a poo because an old man obviously is going through the same thing. Finally sit down. Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On, as I'm just ripping at a doozy. It wasn't a sit, rip it and grip it. It was just a, oh, balls to the wall poo-poo. Realizing, what am I going to say to this girl? Go back, tell her I had an audition for a huge movie coming up. Don't know why, that's the first thing that came to my head. And then I asked her to be my wife 8 months later. And I've never gone back there since.
Aw, at least it worked out.
I have a good one for this one. I went on a Tinder date with this guy who was a teacher. He was 25. He taught elementary school kids. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. He had a son. He said that his son's mother had passed away tragically. She was dead. He was a single dad. How horrible. The other teachers would watch his kids when he would go on dates. I'm like, that's so sweet. How nice of them. He loves running. He seemed like a normal person. And then I, of course, had to Instagram stalk and like see how this tragic story unfolded because I love things like that. I love pain and sadness. And so I went to stalk her on Instagram, and then I went back to show my friend and look on a different day. And when I did, she had new posts, and so I stalked even further and like found obviously her whole family and whole career history on the internet. And it turns out she was not dead at all. She was very much alive. They were very much together in a relationship. And he was so normal. He was like the most normal person I'd been on a date with in a long time. And I confronted him about it and told him that he lied and that she was actually alive. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? And he told me that I was lying and that she was actually dead. She's alive.
There's men out here that are seriously pathological liars, okay?
You are a liar, actress, go the out.
This guy on Tinder, 6'8", fine, caramel, absolutely gorgeous. And we go on a couple of lunch dates. It's cute. My coworkers get to know him. He even comes to a work event. He supposedly works nights, but this particular weekend, he wants to cook for me. So I'm super excited. I grab my favorite bottle of wine and an overnight bag, and I head over. No sooner do I put the microwaved Alfredo to my lips, there's a knock at the door. I'm like, are you expecting someone? He's like, no. He begins collecting my things and tossing them at the back door, and then tells me to hide as I'm collecting my things. And
no way this guy broke into a house to impress this girl on a date. This is crazy. Like, this is out of the movies.
Going over how my life has reached this new low, MacBook in the dirt low. I walk down the grassy knoll to my car, and a woman and 3 children come running out the back door to let me know that he is married. He changed the locks on them, and this isn't the first time.
Tell me about the... Okay, guys. That just reminded me of something. This was like fresh out of high school, dating a guy I knew from elementary school and from high school. So he invites me to his house and we're chilling in the basement. He's been telling me how much he was into me. And you know, I was really hesitant because like, you can tell he was a little bit of a player, okay? At first I was shocked that he wanted to talk to me and start dating me, but I was just like, you know, He's always been so nice to me, and he's good looking. Whatever, I'll give it a try.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
So I go over to his house and I'm chilling in the basement. He was telling me he has to go or whatever. So as I'm heading upstairs, he's just like, hold on, wait.
I'm gonna tell you when to come upstairs and I want you to go to the backyard.
I said,
What? What the?
Okay. I'm thinking maybe, oh, his mom's coming home and he's not allowed to have girls over or something like that. Anyways, he brings me to the backyard and he just tells me to stay like in this one spot and don't move and don't say anything. I was just like, oh my God. This is so embarrassing. What did I get myself into? In my head, I'm saying like, honestly, I hope it's just a mom situation. I was not thinking it's no other woman, but anyways, comes from the front, gets me from the back, takes me to the bus stop. You know, I just have this weird feeling inside, but anyways, he gives me a kiss and I hop on the bus and I go. That night, I get a phone call from a girl. What, did she call me private? I think she called me private. And she starts screaming at me. And mind you, this girl, I could tell she's older than me, like probably like 5 years older than me. And she's like screaming at me and telling me that I'm messing with her man and da 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 da. Come to find out, it was him. And he's with an older girl. And we were at her house. And I'm just so lucky that I didn't get caught. Because had she caught me in her house, the way she was talking and cussing me off on the phone, and I was so confused, I would have got my ass beat by her. Little old me, I was probably like, what, 18? Men will put you in dangerous situations. You need to be careful. So those were some crazy worst date stories. If you have a story about a worst date that you have experienced, please share your story down below. I want to read them all. I will be responding back. Thank you guys all for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join the team, become my online bestie, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, before I go, comment down some videos that you would like me to react to.